Welcome to this week's In the Money Players podcast. I am not PTF. I am Spencer Luginbuhl. And on today's show, Matt Bernier talks the Belmont Pick 6. Matt Vagvolgyi stops by to talk the Lone Star Late Pick 4 with help from Race Lens. Drew Coatney goes over the Woodbine Late Pick 4. And I have Nick Tammaro talking early Pick 5 from Monmouth Park. All that and much, much more on this week's episode. And my next guest on In the Money Players podcast, glad to have Matt Bernier on to talk Pick 6 at Naira, aka Belmont. Matt, how are you today?
I'm good, Spencer. I'm looking forward to talking about this sequence with you because I think it's a really intriguing one where maybe there are a couple of spots you can get super narrow, but I think there are a handful of races that, throw it against the wall and you can get a different outcome 10 different times.
I think for me, it was more of just interesting spots, especially with the turf races. I think there's some interesting ways you can go, but I'm pretty slim starting out. But let's start out with that race. First race being race number 5 from Belmont Park, a state-bred N1X allowance, 7 furlongs on the dirt. For me, I don't want to try and get too crazy, especially just when there's a 3 to 5 shot. Listen, I know it was a slow pace last time and was a favorite, won by 8. The 75 buyer fits really well in this spot. I just think Finkel's Cave is just a nice, easy single to start off for David Donk, who I can't remember ever seeing him above 25%, so he's off to a really, really good start so far.
Yeah, for me, it's as simple as single Finkel's Cave and move on. I thought she was really spectacular in her debut, breaking the maiden at first, asking a little bit of a tight spot down the backside, pinched back, angled out into the clear, and basically just blew the doors off of, to be fair, not a great field, but the 4th place finisher was the next out winner on turf for the 55 buyer. Put it this way. She won so impressively that I'm not convinced that she won't find herself in a New York bred stakes race in her next start, assuming she goes on and does what I think most people expect her to do on Saturday.
I would even say as well, just for this one, having that slow pace up front, sometimes the buyers get elevated. This one can come back and really run like a 70 here, and I think still win by open lengths as well. Let's move on to race number 6, a maiden special weight, 160 miles on the inner turf course. I kind of feel like I'm wide open in this race. How are you in this one?
Well, initially I went through it and I said, well, I don't really want the Chad Brown horses. But then again, I went back and said, I'd be a fool to sit here and say, don't take the Chad Brown horses on turf in New York. So I think the 2 beachfront bid makes sense. I think the 4 in here, Vagaries, again, I don't love either of them, but I think you have to use them at least defensively, especially if you've got some kind of an interesting idea down the road. Felicity, I thought was a little intriguing for Belmont, first time starter. Rosario takes them out. The pedigree, there's a little bit there on the bottom side. Arrowgate, the data size, to me, the sample's too small to really draw major conclusions from. Not the flashiest start, and unfortunately, we won't see much as far as Arrowgate is concerned, simply because it was untimely passing. But I just thought that was an interesting spot. Rosario first out of the box, going long for Mott and Juddmont. But the horse I was most interested in is Libretto, the 3. Goes out for Jorge Abreu, who's paired up buyer tops of 73 in the first 2 starts. They take the blinkers back off. I think we're going to get a forward move, hopefully up into maybe the low 80 range. I think that's competitive in here with a horse that I don't expect to be the favorite. So I guess I'm probably going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, but I'm going to tier it sort of ABC. Libretto would certainly be getting the lion's share.
The 3 being an A, and then if you want to do the B's and C's, what else are we looking at here?
I mean, basically, I typically would go like an A and C kind of method. I don't get too cute with the B's. My backups would be the 2, the 4, and the 5. But again, depending on your budget, if you're someone who has a lot to throw at this, I think you make the Chads A's, and maybe your sort of flyer or your funny idea is Felicity, the 5.
For me, I'm 5 deep in this race, 3 A's, 2 B's. We'll start off real quick. I just think like beachfront bid, I'm kind of the same way you are. How many times are we going to get beat by a Chad? We're like, let's toss the Chads, and they end up coming back to win. The 2 is going to be one of the A's for me, beachfront bid. Just the last couple of races, slowly declining buyers, but still consistent enough that I don't want to get beat by this one. Manny Franco and Chad are 34% with a $3 ROI. I think Vagaries for me is going to be the B, a little bit less on the buyer scale. Pratt is going to tank the money pretty much. So I would like the higher price Chad to be the one. If I got to back up with this one, that's fine. With bells on, Jose Lezcano, Todd Pletcher. For me, Jose Lezcano still, for the couple titles he's won, is still one of the most underrated turf riders in the country. And the 75 last time out, I think maybe we see a forward step here, stretching out a little bit more. The other B I'm going to add is Get Respect. Dylan Davis, 63 buyer last time out for Barclay Tag. We see 10-point increases all the time, second time out. This is the one I want at 15 to 1. I'm going to use this one everywhere vertically as well. Exactas tries. This is kind of like the board horse for me of this race. Let's move on to race number 7, 50,000 N2L, 7 furlongs on the Widener. Matt, how are we going to get through this middle part of the sequence?
I guess an A for me in here would be the 5 Vocalized. Goes out now first off the claim for Bonnie Lucas's barn. I thought the most recent run breaking the maiden at the 40 claiming level was solid enough. I think a replica of that effort gets the job done in here. The problem for me was some of the other horses in here that are going to take money. I don't love. Brazilian Air from a numbers standpoint makes sense. I'm not in love with horses that run second or third 7 times from 11 lifetime starts. There's only one victory. If you really wanted to get cute, and I'm not going to just keep saying I think this horse makes sense, this one makes sense. I think you could just keep going on and on. 63S down on the inside, if you're looking for a bomber, a horse that's going to get lost in the shuffle is going to be at least that 15-1 morning line, I would think, if not higher than that. Has only been on turf 1 time, but they've wanted to run this horse on grass in 3 of the 4 lifetime starts. The last 2 have come off. This one actually broke the maiden on an off the turf race. And granted, the turf try was nothing to write home about, but to me, I'm always intrigued by horses that have been doing things that the connections haven't really wanted them to do and still have success. And that's what 63S is. So in a race where most of the weight would go on Vocalize, the 5, I just thought the 1 was an intriguing ad if you're looking for a bomber as a backup.
In all the books by Kramer, he always talks about the lesser of evils race, where you have 5 horses who maybe are 0 for 32 on dirt. Maybe one other horse in the race has tried it once. What's so bad about taking that horse?
Yep.
I'm 4 deep in this race. I think going early with the early signal kind of made me decide to do this. I thought Ginsu Warrior going off at 11-1 last time out. Listen, didn't hit the board, but I think a lot of people see that 6 and instantly cross it out like a bad race. Was within 3 lengths. 3 lengths, good enough for me in this kind of spot in the level. Thomas Morley in turf sprints, positive ROI 16%. It's the other reason why I'm taking Brazilian Air. Javier Castellano. I believe last year, him and Jose Lezcano were the only 2 with positive ROIs on turf due to race lens. I like these 2 guys. I think the 79 last time out, Linda drops. The horse runs fine for a third. I think the claiming of Tom Morley definitely going to help this one out. My top pick, though, is going to be the 6, Ghostly Prince. The 71 last time out, plus the nice little bullet workout from Michelle Hemingway. Definitely one I want to include. I'll go over Vocalize real quick. I just don't want the trainer switch. I know it's 3-1 in Pratt, which I think, again, I don't think whoever you put in the barn is going to help the horse as much here coming off the Todd Pletcher barn. Pratt, I think, will take, maybe a couple points here on the odds, maybe get down to 2-1. Not one that I want to use. The last one I'm going to use is the 7 Cousin Andrew. Just kind of fits well, 79, 78, and 72 on the buyers for Linda at the 3 out of the last 4. So for me, it's going to be 6, 7, 4, and the 3, and I'm going to try and fade Vocalize here in one of the middle legs. Let's get on to the race everyone wants to talk about here. It's race number 8 from Belmont Park, the Mother Goose, grade 2, 160 miles on the dirt. Kind of a short field, but I was really excited about this race. How are we going to get through this leg, Matt?
Yeah, like you say, not a giant field. We've only got 5 that are going to go. I guess for me, maybe I'm not giving the other fillies in here enough credit, but I've loved her since she was early on as a 2-year-old. I loved her in the Breeders' Cup. I don't think she was disgraced, but she was no match for Echo Zulu. And I thought her return effort was good. I like Juju's map in here. And yes, she's going to be odds on. And no, she doesn't have a tremendous edge or, in fact, any real edge on numbers. But I'm of the opinion that we are still yet to see her best. I think she needed that run at Churchill. And look, she went off and won by nearly 5 lengths. She set what was a relatively swift pace with the internal splits. If you take a look at Timeform US, I think she moves forward in here. The 1-turn mile on the 16th doesn't bother me. And again, her only 2 defeats, I thought she looked really good in the debut, going 5.5. That's a distance that's too sharp for her. And then she lost to Zulu, who's the best we were in the country last year. So I'm not holding those against her. She's run good races each and every time. I think she fits in here. Yes, she's probably 3-5 or 4-5. And purely on, if you're betting the race to win, I think she's a bad play. I don't think she offers any real value there. But in a situation like this, I think she is the most likely winner. And I'm going to key around her. I'm going to key Juju's map.
I think for me, when I looked at this race, I was like, okay, cool, short field, can't go too deep. Even too deep makes me feel kind of queasy. I'm going to try and beat the favorite here. I'm going to go with Venti Valentine. Jorge Abreu having a terrible meet, 6%. I just wonder, 2 for 2 at Belmont. Obviously, just missed in the Gazelle 2-back. Ran in the Oaks, didn't run that well. Listen, the Oaks is the same to the Derby as me. They prep these horses for this one specific race. Some of them just don't run well. Someone's got to finish dead last or back half of the field. I want this one. Jose has been running pretty well of late. I think that the most interesting thing for me is the fact that, like I said, 2 for 2 at Belmont. Listen, the favorite here, Juju's Map, can ship wherever. Obviously, you can see that in the PPs. I just can't take 2 horses in this race. I want to try and get a little bit of value here with the 2 Venti Valentine. Let's move on to race number 9. It is a 25,000 claimer. 1 miles on the inner turf course. How are we getting through this race number 9, Matt?
I'm 4 deep in here, and I feel like if you are like me and you like Big Agenda, you have to kind of by default like Grand Journey, just simply because the two of them put on a show for the length of the stretch, basically, in their most recent run at Belmont. Big Agenda was the one that came out on top. I thought they were both dead game. Big Agenda got a little goofy with leads, but that was because I think predominantly he was between horses. But my point is, if you like one, you kind of have to like the other. They're both among the more likely winners. 2 other horses that I want to include. One of them I'm not in love with, but I think Takafumi, you've at least got to give a look. This is a horse that from day one, basically, you know what you're going to get. You're getting a high 70 or an 80 buyer speed figure. That may be good enough. I think probably does need to find a little something, but Jose is attracted to take them out here and maybe against a little bit lesser as far as class is concerned. 9-2, not thrilled with that. Maybe you float up a little bit. If you're looking for a bit of a bomber or a flyer on a horse that could be a backup if you're playing with the C's, I think Smile Brian, maybe if you just want to draw a line through that most recent run. I know that was a claimed effort. Bruce Levine's going to get a hold of this one for the first time, but breaking from the far outside, going a mile at Belmont or a mile and a 16th, that's a very, very difficult position to be in. This horse was rushed up and just really bottomed out as we got to going into the far turn. If you want to look at that and say the effort was too bad to support again, I'm not going to argue with you, but we're not talking about a 3 or 4 to 1 shot. We're talking about a horse that's going to be 15 or 20 to 1. And this one has races on the page that are good enough to be competitive at this level. So if you have the ability to, as far as your budget is concerned, to go a little deeper, I would include the 6 Smile Brian at the price.
I love the fact that you brought in Takafumi into your idea. I think too, with this specific class level, it's 25,000. It's horses are dropping in from allowance, like even some listed stakes. You kind of get every type of horse on the backstretch in this type of race. Takafumi's not going to be my top pick, but I just thought the race 2 back in the allowance, I thought was perfectly fine. Had a fast pace to run into, ends up on a slow pace, but was off the turf last time. Kind of just disregard that race. I definitely want to add it 9-2, and I think when you've only won your one race at this distance, kind of has to be one that you add. If I had Grand Journey and I wasn't going to use Big Agenda, but you've kind of talked me into it at this point. The reason I like Grand Journey again, Cantor Mossie's 30%. I think he's one of the most underrated guys on the backstretch. Coming from Maker, it's kind of hard to say, how much more can they improve the horse? I don't know if this one really needs improvement off an 86. 86 seems pretty strong in this race. I thought the one underneath that, Jack the Cat at 10-1 with Samuel aboard, they just wanted this class level last time out. Usually people like to see a jump after a win. He won by a neck. This is probably the right level for this one. And with so many other horses coming off claims and dropping down in class, listen, at 10-1, when they fit the class level, that's what I would like to see. So for me, it's the 8, the 10, the 11. I'll probably end up putting the 5 in as a B, though, since Matt talked me into it. Race number 10 from Belmont Park, State Bred Maiden Special Weight, 6 furlongs on the Widener. What are we doing to get paid here, Matt?
I mean, look, this is one that I would go very deep if you have the opportunity or the ability to. If you're narrowing it down to just sort of a main play, I went 3, 4, 11 in here. I think Quick Power Nap would be sort of my air quotes pick in here. First start off a lengthy layoff, goes in now to Christophe Clement's barn, gets Lasix, Rosario's aboard. In many ways, I'm going to approach this one almost as a first-time starter, despite the fact that this one debuted at Saratoga last year and ran a solid second behind Dairy Nane, who I think is still, despite the fact that she's been a little bit meh so far this year, I think she's actually quite good. The 4, Sinfully Sweet's not usually my cup of tea, but she does fit as far as numbers are concerned. She is the horse to beat in here. But I'd be lying if I said I totally trusted her. 0 for 6 thus far through her career. She's had opportunities and hasn't been able to punch on. The 11, Wine Goddess, I'm always interested in horses. This one goes out for Horatio De Paz. You've got Jose Ortiz aboard. Again, we talk about horses that are meant to do something that still do relatively well on a surface or in an instance where the connections didn't really want them. She was supposed to debut on the turf got washed off. They ran her on a muddy sealed track. She ran a decent third. She took money that day, bet down to basically 3.5 to 1. She's by Cantharos. The Cantharos basically can't stand up on dirt. They're much, much better for this is what Cantharos is. Turf sprint sire. I think she's very, very interesting. If you can go a little bit deeper and you're playing with backups, the other 3 that I included were the 2, the 5, and the 10. The 2 is Hikaru, first-time starter for Jorge Abreu, and I understand the pedigree may be a little bit lackluster, and Abreu's barn's not going great, but you get Johnny V here first out of the box. Maybe you get 10, 12 to 1 on that one. The 5, Writer's Room, first-time starter for Linda. I usually think she does a little bit better with a little bit more time, so maybe this is a little bit premature. Maybe next time will be the time for this one. But you get Lezcano aboard. This is sort of the main outfit for Linda here. And if you're looking for another bomber, let me drink the 10. Javier's up for Bruce Levine. I know it's only a 3/8 work, but the most recent one, you got a little bit of a blowout there with a bullet in 37 and 2. First grass is not great, but the first-time starter numbers are a positive ROI situation for Bruce Levine. So again, not suggesting they are major players, but if you have the ability and you want to go a little bit deeper in the payoff leg, these are a couple to think about.
I think this is going to be a leg where either I decide to single and I'll go back and add the other short-priced horse in the stake race, or I'll go too deep here and just stay with the single. I think Quick Power Nap, the fact that we're going from Jorge Abreu, who's, like we had said, last race has been so cold. Now we go to Christophe Clement. That to me is like, it's kind of like when you're looking at an active goalie in hockey and the backup goalie and who's better. Like this to me is kind of just, I think it's such a big improvement. Not that, listen, I have nothing against Abreu. Christophe Clement to me is my favorite turf trainer. He was the one whenever someone took Chad, I always took Christophe, and I had that $10 winner. It's kind of just what I've grown into. The other one I want to use is Sinfully Sweet, Trevor McCarthy from Mark Cassie. The last race, nice improvement going from 6 to 7. Now, obviously, going back to 6. I just think that we're seeing some nice progressive improvement here. One has been on the turf more than just those 2 times, but maybe they finally got this one going the right way now at 4 for this filly. So for me, I'm just going to go 3-4 here to finish up. You were obviously very deep, a little bit differing of opinion there, but as is, they say in horse racing, Matt, we'll see which ticket stands supreme, or maybe neither of us stands supreme. Pleasure having you on as always. Glad to have you aboard on this In the Money Media's Player Podcast.
Thanks, Spencer.
As we continue to progress on the road to the Woodbine Oaks and Queens Plate, be sure to check out the Grade 3 $150,000 Celine Stakes and the Grade 3 $150,000 Marine Stakes. The 1 and 1/16 mile events take place on Saturday, July 2nd, and are part of 4 greatest stakes on the day. For more information, please go to www.woodbine.com. And now I'd like to welcome in my next special guest on the In the Money Media's podcast, Players Podcast. It is Drew Coatney. Drew, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you this morning, Spencer?
I'm good, my man. Just excited to get into this Woodbine card. We were talking a little bit off camera. Card's been a little bit interesting of late, but this seems like a little tough pick 4 sequence here.
Yeah, me and Nick Tammaro reviewed the tough sequence last week. I think we hit all 4 races and gave out like a straight cold pick 3 or something like that for a couple $100. So it is. They are tough races, and I think it's just getting used to the Woodbine cards and the form that we typically see in those competitive big fields. So I think we're going to be good today to find some winners as well. I have some creative angles we might be able to take advantage of, and what looks to be a pretty hard sequence to separate between who's going to win and who's going to be plotting along at last.
Let's start off with race number 7. It's an optional claiming 40,000, 7.5 tough distance on the turf. What are we starting off in first leg here, Drew?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with the number 4 Silver Magnetized at 6 to 1 as my best value play here. Was actively rated last time out by the jockey and got into trouble, getting stuck down in the rail and had nowhere to go. And then finally, when that horse gets free, starts building momentum, gets checked at the 8th pole. So with the back class form on the turf from last summer and a bunch of buyer figures that look pretty competitive with this group, I think this horse still has a right to improve. So the number 4 Silver Magnetized is going to be very much so on my tickets. The other one I wanted to comment on, and I like doing this, especially at Woodbine, is looking at a runner who faced another runner, and that would be the number 2 and the number 1. Both who were completely overlooked in the betting because you had Seasons in there. I think Seasons got bet down to 1 to 9, the L&J Fox horse. But anyways, the number 2, Luz de la Luna, had a complete horrible trip, stuck into the slow pace, wide, and a terrible break. And everything other than that looks pretty much like a carbon copy of the number 1 Blazing Sky when you look at the other races this one has run. So the number 2 Luz de la Luna at 15-1 is going to be on my tickets everywhere as well. I think there's good value to be had there. And I think the number 1 Blazing Sky I am fading because that was just a gifted pace to that runner. And then the defensive views for me, number 6 Systematic at 5-2. Not sure really what to make of the horse, but the overall figures will definitely fit with this group and should have some tactical speed with Kimura aboard. Will keep this one out of trouble. So the 4, the long shot with the number 2 and the 6 are going to be my uses in this race. What do you have? You agree with anything there?
I agree with that top pick. I just think that the number 4 Silver Magnetized have the best figures on turf. Alabit, the number 1 Blazing Sky, but that was a slow pace, so you can't take a couple points off for that. And we always know from the 2-year-old season that they can improve, and this will be first-time turf coming back, 3-year-old season. I think that we're going to see a jump up in progression. I almost want a single in this race, but this race is so convoluted with other horses. I wanted to also use the number 3 Takunwa. Just the form, double checks for me. 8-1, 7-1, 26-1, hitting the board, getting a W. This is one that I think 3 starts on the turf, but has the 343 Tomlinson. It's one of the best in the fields. I just don't want this one to beat me. Patrick Husbands, only 8%, but was always my top Woodbine rider. I know he's always got good rides left in him there. And this is one of the horses that just has the best form right now. And sometimes in these type of races, you want the best type of form. I will say this for the 2 horses that you also talked about, Systematic being the one. It's a hard pass for me. Martin Drexler, second race off the claim, but the first one was okay. 4th, 63 buyer doesn't really scare me a bunch. If this one improves, it improves. And Gambler Silver has a 263 Tomlinson, just doesn't scream turf to me. Although Gambler's exchange so far in 6 starts on turf sprints, progeny are 3 for 6. So just kind of keep that in at 3-1 if you want to keep as an ad. I definitely would not use Systematic though, for sure. Let's move on to race.
Interesting. So you're fading the number 6 Systematic altogether.
Let's move on to number 8, optional claimer, 32,000, 6 furlongs on the synth. I am quite deep here with 4 horses. Let me see if I can add any more from you, Drew.
Yeah, I'm staying pretty skinny here because I think there's too many that look kind of like they're fake fast, not really speedy. And there's really not much to differentiate between the bunch. And so this is a good kind of gambling concept. If you end up spreading across this entire field and you're taking all of the 3-1s and the 2-1s and the 5-2s at the top of the market, you're not really capturing any value. I get the point of the all button, but especially when we're looking at these horizontal plays, you really want to make sure that you can capture your opinion appropriately. So the horse I'm using is the number 6 Imagery at 15-1. I think this race really sets up nicely for this horse. We'll be able to stalk those speeds with the number 4 Forest Drift in here. And in that horse, if Forest Drift scratches, this opinion changes completely because I think a lot of those other more presser types are going to have to keep number 4 Forest Drift honest. And I think that should set up perfectly for a closer like number 6 Imagery, who looks last year pretty similar to everyone else and had some strong morning workouts recently. And those time forward figures you can find in the formulator fit in that mid 90s market as well. So we're looking pretty good at 15-1 with the number 6 Imagery. And then the logical number 7 Hard Edge, 5-2. I don't love it because of the slow paces, but I think this horse will sit at press and have the best chance to get the first jump on whoever's leading at the late. And then I'm going to fade everyone else. So just 2 horses for me, 2 lone A's, the 6 and the 7 in this optional claimer 6 furlong event.
I'm going, like I said, I was going 4 deep. I'm not against Hard Edge. If I'm going to go 4 deep, I'm not going to go 5 deep with the favorite. I'm going to try and beat this one as well. 86 buyer last time out with a slow pace. Does have an 86 3 back, showing no problems with taking an even faster pace. I'm going to try and beat this one. This one also 6 for 6 in the money, but 5 of 6 second and thirds. Seems to be a nibbler to me. Don't really want that. I'm sticking to the inside with the 1, the 2, and the 3. In my opinion, for me, just had a terrible slow pace last time out at 9-1. Still ran a pretty comparable buyer to the field. has another good placing 3 back at 10-1 and has a W at almost 7-1. A couple races back behind that. This is one that I think gets forgotten a lot by the public. Not only am I using this in the pick 4, I'm also going to use this one underneath in exactas. Definitely want to try to, combine here with a horse at 12-1. I think Sweet Carolina for Mark Cassie and Hernandez. This is one that if you look 2 back, 13-1, we're in a comparable figure of a 66 and improved next to a 70. So for me, this is going to be a use as well. And the last one, the number 3, I'm a Beast, in for the 32,000 claiming tag. Had a fast pace last time out at 5.5, which is still hard to close into. 13-1. I want to try and use some extra added value horses here. This one also 3 wins in the lifetime. Has mostly raced at Woodbine, but horse for course angle working a little bit for me as well here. Last one but not least, number 8, Dakota. That 85 last time out is against a much, much weaker field than the race 3 back where the other win happened for 25,000 N3L. If this 85 can just stack up, maybe Hard Edge is one that might run the 86, but if this one can improve off that 85 in the tougher field, maybe we get a little bit luckier with a 12-1 shot. So a couple double-digit horses, a couple nice value shots here for me in race number 8. My A's are 1, 2, 3, and the 8.
And I hate all of them.
Now,
the picks, not the horses. The horses. So we'll have a good head-to-head. We have everything covered.
Race number 9 from Woodbine, optional 50,000, 6 furlongs again on the synthetic. I'm going 2 deep here with my A's. I thought the number 1, Galib the Great, in for the 50,000 tag. Another one that has a new buyer top last time out with an 82. The form is right there. This one has been really, really consistent in the last couple of months, including races at Oakland Park as well. I am going to avoid Mrs. Vancouver. This is one that I just want to skip over as well. Last race to finish second one pretty much was odds on for an now 0 for 15 trainer. I'm not playing those in the pick 4. I thought the number 3 Millennium Force was very interesting if you take off that last race on the turf. Listen, a couple of the races, the optional 62 3 back, that figure fits. He's got back numbers from Woodbine from last year as a 4 that she has last year as a 4-year-old. And I thought the number 4 Hazelbrook is a B, just slightly raced 4-year-old, has some comparable figures as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm taking a somewhat opposite approach. I do like the number 4 Hazelbrook as well. I think the form from the 3-year-old should project upward, and this horse should be right in the mix. And I think, again, the number 2 and the 1, Galib the Great and Miss Vancouver, if those stay in, I think they're going to have a little bit of a pace duel on their hands and set up perfectly for the number 4 Hazelbrook, who is my top choice. Next will be number 2, Mrs. Vancouver. I think second off the bench. I disagree kind of with what you were saying. I think this trainer firing at 25% with a $3.77 ROI, second off the layoff. This runner looks short all day. I think the second off the layoff stat will hold up and project nicely for this runner. And then I will be using the number 1, Galib the Great. That was a freak performance last out. I don't know if you watched the replay, Spencer, but this horse just sat back off that slow pace and just rocketed wide and going past Miss Vancouver, who, again, I think was just short, and so second off the break should be good. This will be a play I have today. I will ask you as we wrap up here what your plays would be outside of a pick 4. And this would be one of mine here where I'm going to use a little bit of an exacta and do the number 2 over 4-1, and then press maybe the number 2 and the 1 a little bit more, and then just play a straight win bet on the number 4 Hazelbrook, because we're already going to get 8-1, maybe 10-1 on that odds, and try and take about 25% of our bankroll for this pick 4 and push it through that. So if we're right on race 9, we'll make sure to get paid and keep going back to the windows.
I always say this: if you play a pick 4 or pick 5, and you can find a spot where you can just do a win bet to pay for your ticket, after that it's all gravy. Let's move on to race number 10. How are we going to get paid in this one? Drew, it's a special weight, 1 1/8 miles on the synthetic. This is the one that I kind of felt I had the best opinion in. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to start with where I'm fading, and then we'll move into some rapid fire. The number 8 Hall of Dreams, I think, just continues to be a hanger, and I just can't back. I think collects money because of the connections, and at 5-2, I just can't see it. The number 7 Bill Needle also is what I'm going to fade. I think just had one good race, and everyone's going to go run into this one to bet this horse down. There is nothing really differentiating this bunch for me, so I'm going to go through a couple horses here in numerical order, not necessarily preference, but the number 1 Mad Mocha, always tends to find trouble, but I think it's going to be up there. The number 3, Larac at 8-1 gets blinkers on, first start over after the long layoff. Should be okay at 8-1. Number 5, Ralphie Boy at 15-1. Slow paces, looks to want to route. The number 6, Tough Rag, second start off for a horse who didn't really disappoint on debut. And then the number 6, Behringer of Rain at 12-1. Another runner with slow paces and decent figures. So you've got 5 horses to spread to, the 1, 3, 5, 6, and 9. And I am fading those 2 short prices of the number 8, Hall of Dreams, and the number 7, Bill Needle. That's how I'm tackling the nightcap. How are you going to get paid?
Before we go to my picks, just give me your A's and B's if you can real quick.
All A's, man. I don't think there is any way I can differentiate from B's. So I'm going 1, 3, 5, 6, and 9. And if we were looking at race 9 as well as a B, the 1, Galib the Great, is a B on mine. The other 2 are A's.
For me, I am also Hall of Dreams to me, second highest horse. No, thank you. Bill Needle, the fact this one has never been underneath 10-1. If this is the time that he gets beat at a short price, I understand it's one good race and there were slow figures in there. I just don't want this one to beat me in the pay leg, especially when we might see 3-1 just stay there, 7-2 even. I'm going to keep this one in. The other one I would like to use is the number 2, Guard of Honor, Justin Stein. Just the last 2 races, nice improvement for Gail Cox as well. I just think at 54-1, when you run third last time out, you're kind of going in the right direction. It was also first time routing on the synth. Maybe we see some improvement second time out. And I'm going bombs away here with Tough Rags. The 64 last time out seems to be a bit of a closer, but second time improvement, if that can improve 10 points, that puts that one right in this bunch. So for me, it's 7 and 2 as A's and the 6 as a B. I know you wanted to kind of ask what I'm doing outside of the pick 4. I'm probably going to end up playing Tough Rags to win in this kind of spot just to make sure I can somehow pay for my ticket. And I'm definitely going to be dutching the 2 longer horses in race number 8 as I swing back through there, and I can just run them off to you. So that would be the number 1, in my opinion, and the number 8, Dakota.
Great. Fantastic. No, I like that. I like those plays. Yeah, and I do find it a little tough to back any runner in here with just the volatility. So I'm glad that you were able to find the double-digit price horse that, sometimes this horse, this one feels like a runner that could get bet down to 5-1 when the market opens, and we say, what the heck? What's going on here? So brace yourself.
I think it'll be interesting just sequence in general. I'm glad that me and you kind of differentiate, especially in that race number 8. So pretty much we have every runner in that second leg. So when it doesn't win, hopefully someone else can get paid. I do want to thank you, Drew, for coming on and talking to me with the Woodbine Late Pick 4. And I know we'll be talking soon.
All right. Thanks, Spencer. Have a good one.
And I would like to welcome in my next guest on this week's In the Money Players podcast. I'm somewhat used to saying Redboard Rewind. It's almost now becoming too casual now. I've been on this show so much the last few months. It's Matt Vagvolgyi going over the Lone Star Late Pick 4. How are you, my man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Good to see you again. And you're just you're doing everything on the In the Money Media Network. So that's great to see you.
I need Pete to buy me like an In the Money fedora hat so I can really just start fitting the idea behind him and JK at this point. But how's it been? How's your handicapping been? Are you kind of ready for this late sequence?
Yeah. I think it's chalky in areas, but I think you could find some prices elsewhere. So I think it might be one you got to leverage the bankroll a little bit. But no, handicap has been pretty good. Looking forward to Saratoga, man. I'm telling you, as soon as you start looking at that calendar and July starts creeping into it, you know what I mean? You know you're almost there.
100%. Let's get started with this Lone Star Park Late Pick 4, race number 7. It's an N1X allowance, 7.5 on the turf course. What would we like in here to start off, Matt?
I'm gonna use a few horses in here. I think the pace to me looks pretty hot. So, but on the other hand, this course certainly has been playing kindly to speed. So I'll start with, I would say probably the number 10 would be where I would start here. Again, been very competitive against this level. I think comes in against a softer group today. Should be forwardly placed from the 10 hole as well. Like I said, this horse is proven to go gate to wire as well, and also take some pace on as well. So I think the 10 Brock on by is going to be one that I'm gonna look to play as a speed type. One that eventually I think might actually sit the best trip would be the 6 Cairo Warrior, and the reason why I say I think there could be some pressure from the 4 ready to roll as well. So I think you could see some pace up front, where I think Kyra Warrior can just sit there and have that nice run in the stretch. So it's shown that the ability to rate, shown the ability to go to the lead. So again, that's another horse I'll use as an A. So the 10 and 6 will be A's. I also thought the 3 on My Arching Way is interesting as well. Just might have too much to do in a race like this, going 7.5, but does have, solid late pace figures. Has also shown some early pace. Certainly will need to step up a bit today, but again, as talented as any others in here for Broberg. So I certainly would use the 3 on My Arching Way, and then I don't know. I'm kind of toying with the idea of still including Ready to Roll. This horse again could shake loose. It could be one of those where they look at each other and one goes and one doesn't. So I don't want to lose projected speed off of there. So I'm going to use the 10 and 6 as A's. I'm going to back up with the 3 and the 4.
I feel like it was funny. I was like, oh, we're going to go over this exact same horses I have. So this is going to be this part of the podcast. I will say real quick with the number 3. Listen, the Louisiana Downs form and the Evangeline Downs form, I just don't know. So if this one's going to beat me, I know how good Broberg and Eichelberry are together. I'm going to pass on that one. But the other 3 that you mentioned, the 10, I just think Brock on by with Goncalves. Just back-to-back 78s, has a 79 before that at Sam Houston. Listen, 6 for 8 in the money on turf. This one knows that they want to be on turf in the last 2 races, losing by less than a length. Maybe they're just unlucky. This seems to be the right one to get the job done. I thought exactly what you thought with Kyra Warrior based on the pace. This one's slowly improving, and listen, has the same type of races the last 2 times out. But at 5 and 6 to 1, I like that price a lot better than what we're going to get on that 10. And Ready to Roll at 10 to 1 was going to be my bomber. This one, the last race, 3x3, was the favorite. I think now gets into a saltier bunch, but sometimes these can get forgotten. And listen, Calhoun at 29% is nothing to shake your tail at. 10-6 are the A's for me. The 4 will be a B, though, to back it up to start off on this late pick 4. 2-year-old racing. Race number 8 at Lone Star Park. Maiden special weight. 5 furlongs on the dirt. I saw these races, and I was like, yowza. What a cluster.
Yeah, it could be. Again, it could be one of those where it can be very difficult. And again, another feature I love on Race Lens is the ability in a couple of clicks to get all of the information you need when it comes to first-time starters. Again, you can find trainer stats, you can find sire, dam, jockey stats, all literally just by clicking on the research button. You can pull up all of that information and also dig into the charts as well. So if you want to dig into any charts, whether that's trainer, whether that's the sire, dam, however you want to do it, all of that information is right there at a single click. With all of that said, I'm going to go with a horse that's run already, and it's going to be a lone A. I just, again, using that research function, I couldn't really come up with much that I can really sink my teeth in. So it's one of those where, to me, either you try to buy the race and get lucky, or do you just kind of lean on a horse. And I think it's going to be a very popular horse. Probably at 9 to 5 on the morning line is going to take most likely a lot of money, unless I see something in the doubles that tells me differently of a first-time starter that is taking money. But that's going to be the 8 straight luck. And again, I like this horse effort, showed speed. I've said many times on these airwaves with you and with Pete, first-time starters, I love a horse that can get to the gate, get in the gate, and get out of the gate, right? Did all 3, showed a lot of speed. I got caught up in a bit of a duel going 4.5, gave it up late, comes back in 36 days. That tells me the horse is still in good form. I think any kind of improvement off of that is going to destroy this field. But again, not much to go off of for some of the other horses. Interesting if you had any firsters that you like, but my lone A, no B's, nothing else. I'm gonna sink or swim with the 8 straight luck.
Listen, it's strange in these type of races, especially at these. Listen, they're lower level tracks than the major A tracks that we talk about. Backbeat, they paid $150,000 for it. That's a lot when then you run for $33,000 purse. So I think that they thought a lot of this one just to end up being the same. I'm using the 8. I don't want to go too deep in this race, but I'm not letting a guy who has a 62% trainer stat with limited sample size, that being number 3, Choi Garza YG. Edgar Mendoza is 62% over 8 starts with a $4 ROI. Usually you see 2 for 4, 3 for 6. I mean, 62%. I can't remember the last time I've seen that in the form. This one's going to go on as a B. I'll probably even put a little bit of win money on. God only knows. Everyone who watched 2-year-old racing, it's kind of like deer on ice skates is the best way I can put it when they come out of the gate being so green. So I'm definitely going to use this 20-1 shot as well, just primarily based on that trainer stat. If he goes anything lower, 15-1, because people see that trainer stat completely off, and obviously can't really worry about that in the pick 4, so I have to include still, but at least it won't be extra money on the win bet if this horse all of a sudden goes down to 8-1 for some unbeknownst reason. But 8 and the 3 for me to start off here.
Yeah, and again, take a peek at those will pays. Are usually again, I know Lone Star could be a little bit different, but like your Belmont, Saratogas, you get a really good idea of what that price will look like. But like you said, if you're looking to see if the horse taking any money whatsoever, you're going to see a relative payoff in those doubles. So that's something to pay attention to. Going into the start of the sequence, get an idea of what you want to play for this leg here.
If you were excited for 1 2-year-old race, guess what? Race number 9, main special weights, 5 furlongs on the dirt. It's another 2-year-old race, this time for the fillies. Listen, I went too deep here. Santa Fe Gold, another one they spent good money on. The last 2 workouts have been really, really, really well. Alvarez, 19%. Calhoun, like we had talked about in the first leg. Not going to let those 2 beat me. And then Diodoro, 22%, $3 ROI. Gets probably one of the top riders there in Eichelberry for me. I'm using those 2 and moving on.
Yeah, I'm similar with looking at Santa Fe Gold. Just a lot of numbers pointing this direction. So where I looked at all that research and found nothing in the last race, found quite a bit here. Like you met with Calhoun, I just, again, 21% with 2-year-olds, 16% first time starters. Then I dug a little bit deeper to look at, just strip out just the first time starters, just 2-year-olds, and hitting that 20%, heading positive 20% ROI. So again, getting him home and also getting some prices there as well. So Santa Fe Gold is a horse I'm definitely going to use here. And then, I'm going to use, Viewing Trail as well. Just, again, I like an effort getting involved first time out. Wheels back in just 16 days. So they certainly feel this horse is in form and can run and want to get this filly back on the track again. So I'll use the 1 and the 7 as A's, and then the 8 New Destiny I'm going to throw in there as well. Again, if you look at it from on Geldner's end in terms of training, 20% in dirt sprints, 43% in maiden special weight. So could be the right spot, right fit, something this trainer does extremely well. So again, another challenging race, but I'm going to try to get by with a few 1 and 7 as A's, and I'll back up with the 8.
So on to the pay leg, race number 10 from Lone Star Park, N1X allowance, 7.5 on the turf course. Kind of a daunting distance. I believe I am 3 or 4 deep in this leg. How are we getting paid, Matt?
Yeah, this is another tough one. Again, I see a bit of pace. Let's see what his time form has it fast as well. I think, and I don't like any of the horses that are really forwardly placed here. So I think something that's mid pack, something that's got some late kick to it. I think Great and Red is one of those horses. I think can sit a perfect trip, saving ground and making a nice big run late. 7.5 has not proven to be the best for this horse, but again, I think it's a perfect setup. Gets the right group here. A couple horses that I'll throw in coming off the pace. The number 8 Street Shadow, just in terms of my own figures, a monster late pace figure for this horse. Again, it's really going to come from far out of it. Don't like that. But if this race completely melts down, which it might suck up some other horses to the front end. I think this horse can show some really, really nice late pace and pick up the pieces at a monster price as well. Another horse I would include that, if you use the true odds algorithm of Race Lens, kind of gives the AI approach to it that we talked about last time. This is their best value horse of the sequence. They put a fair value of 6-1 on this horse relative to a 15-1 morning line. In a field like this, something different. This horse has shown a bit of talent, shown some interest getting to the turf for the first time. So I like that in this particular group. So again, I think this filly can be competitive here. Showed some late pace, but the 1's going to be my A. So Great and Red is going to be my lone A. I'm going to back up with the 8 and 5, just on coming off the pace and see if this race might collapse.
Like I said, I'm 3-4 deep. I'm 3 deep. Great and Red, those races for Cesar Govea, 67 and 66, I thought fit really well in here. And then obviously one was at Houston, one was at Lone Star. And then had a 77 at that Evangeline Downs race. I just feel like this one from the rail, we all know sometimes the rail's the best place to be, sometimes on the turf, saving all that ground. I thought Glitterary had some good races on the turf as well. Just kind of seems to be that high 60 to low 70 horse that if for some reason Great and Red doesn't get back to that 77, it's kind of anyone's race at that point. But the one I'm most excited about, the number that will be my top pick, is Ant Gem. Steve Asmussen, this one just seems to be slowly improving, 50 with a 54 and a 64. If they can get another hot pace, like you said, that one seemed to hold out pretty well there, 8-1 last time. So Ant Gem for me will be my top pick, 7, 1, and 3 in preference here to cap off this Lone Star late pick 4. Matt, as always, pleasure to have you on. Look forward to talking in the future.
Awesome. Great being here, and thanks for having me.
Fixed odds betting powered by BetMakers is back and in effect at Monmouth Park, and the early returns are fantastic, with 70% of winners paying more on fixed odds than they are on the tote. Soon, fixed odds wagering will be available throughout the state. This is an exciting new way to bet that really puts the power to get value in your hands. The odds you bet are the odds you get. You'll be continuing to hear a lot more about fixed odds betting opportunities across the In the Money Media Network. And now to end this podcast the right way, I have my man Nick Tammaro coming on to talk the early pick 5 from Monmouth Park. Nick, how have you been?
I'm doing great, Spencer. Good to see you. Good to hear from you, and excited again about another Saturday at Monmouth.
Let's start off with race number 1, fun little opener, optional 16, starter allowance, 6 furlongs on the dirt. As we always know, speed is deadly at Monmouth. What did we kind of come up in this race?
You know, this particular race looked to me like the one Get the W would more or less dominate, maybe not necessarily the wagering, but he looks like a horse who's going to be pretty tough to handle. He's coming in off of a series of really good races, claimed by this relatively unknown, but good trainer in Halim Lee, who took him back for 10,000 in April. And he's run 3 very good races since then. I know I'm a little dubious of the Parks form at times. It does make me a tad nervous, but this horse looks like he's better than his competition here. The main rival is the Paco Lopez Charge, commanding general on the outside for Kieran McGee. 101 other than last time out at Charlestown, now getting some class relief. We'll see if he's as effective. It becomes a question of, do you trust Parks form more than Charlestown? I do. So I would take the rail horse over commanding general and go with Get the W, but I really don't know as far as the pick 5 goes, how much you need to go beyond those two.
I think you kind of just spoke my language right there. I love, first of all, this race, these little optional starter allowances types that mix in there, all these different horses. First of all, who thought we'd get Charlestown and Parks form in a Monmouth race to try and decide? I agree with you so much. The fact that this trainer is reclaiming as well, I think that's such an underutilized idea, because first of all, people read the form top to bottom, not bottom, and they don't really see all the old trainers until they get 6 or 7 races now, but not many of us do that. Well, I love Get the W. I think it's going to be a nice, easy single to get this started in this early pick 5. Race number 2 at Monmouth Park, maiden claiming 10,000, 6 furlongs on the dirt. Kind of thought an idea with number 2, Rowdy Kakalaki, just on the class drop. I think in these maiden bottom level events, you really want to look for class drop horses that haven't lost already at the level.
Yeah, look, the horse obviously has gait issues, but, the connections are being smart, dropping him right to the bottom, kind of looking to get him where he can be competitive or get him out the door. I don't know who's taking this horse for 10, even as a Jersey bred, because there are some opportunities to make money owning a Jersey bred. I mean, this is a hold your nose and make some picks and move on kind of leg. The morning line favorite is the One Nobody's Secret, who will probably end up going off favorite for Claudio Gonzalez. And that horse inspires no confidence whatsoever, coming in off a miserable effort for 12-5. However, 12-5 maiden claimers at Gulfstream, 10 maiden claimers at Monmouth. That's probably a pretty clear class drop. Stack on top of it that this is an even weaker than par 10 maiden claimer. So the concern to me about that horse is that she doesn't really have much speed. And I think for that reason, you kind of have to feel obligated to use the 4 Just Stuff It, who's a daughter of Jumpstart for Derek Ryan. This is a barn that's had modest success with firsters. This is simply a they're all not very good type of play, right? The experienced runners leave a lot to be desired. So I think you're going to want to use Just Stuff It. I could also make a case for using Pearls and Heels for Jerry Hollendorfer, who is doing well at the meet. This horse ran, I thought, a credible race last time out. Nothing against the Triple Bug, but it's an upgrade at jockey to Isaac Castillo, and I think you could see this horse run a little bit better, at least has some speed also, and comes in off a fast workout.
I know I started talking about the number 2. Just Stuff It also going to be on my ticket as an A. I just, like you had said, when none of the horses with form look like they can run, take the first-time starter. Also, another saucy 6. I'm not one that usually likes to take 0 for 10 maidens, but just to kind of have all my bases covered, a 5.32.40 increase on the buyer. You never know when they get down to this kind of level if we can see another boost of improvement there. Let's go on to race number 3 from Monmouth Park is the claiming 16 to $14,000 to lifetime beaten claimer. Condition 101 16 miles on the turf. I thought this race was going to be quite contentious when I first started to look through it. I only came up with 2, that being the 7 Little Red Button, kind of dropping off the allowance race, and Emperor's Little Lady, one that I just saw a nice improvement getting back on the turf second time out for Russell Cash.
Yeah, I like Empire's First Lady as well. This is a big drop, too, 30 down to 16. And she's got that good time form U.S. running line last time out, sitting off a slow pace, ended up making up some ground. Good upgraded jockey, too, to Jomar Torres, veteran rider who has ridden well on the turf. Turf's not really Russell Cash's game. I'm not overly concerned about that. I think this horse gets a much better setup. The horse you mentioned, Little Red Button, is likely the pace setter. Just really depends on how much pressure comes from the outside with up her sleeve and Nick Juarez breaking from the far outside. You could see that horse showing a decent amount of speed as well. I thought the 10 Real Wild Solution was one that I might try to squeeze in there somewhere. Maybe not necessarily as an A, but I like the improvement shown last time out. I wonder, maybe even especially in early season claiming races, if the Tampa form holds up particularly well, because the Tampa claimers are a pretty hardened group and they've got pretty exposed form. So we kind of know what they end up being. Look, I mean, this is a 1 for 18 mare. She's not fond of the winner's circle, but she's in form. And I think at these levels, that really ends up meaning more than anything else. I think too, I thought as I looked through this field the first time, the more horses I found, the more pace I thought there could end up being, which is why Empire's First Lady really offered a pretty good amount of appeal.
So on to race number 4 from Monmouth Park, an optional 25,000 N2X, mile and 70 on the dirt. I only need one in here. Give me Paco on the rail, class drop. Not one that has shown too much speed last time out on the turf, but I think that if you kind of look back through, got some good numbers, and also that's a pretty big class drop when we're talking about Belmont turf form, even though it is on the dirt at Monmouth.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this is supposed to be simple, right? This horse is supposed to go to the lead and never look back. And I mean, he's loaded with good form from New York. In fact, he really, I don't think it's fair to say he held his form after he got claimed by Patrick Quick. He actually improved. And he was a horse that was, these are interesting horses to claim because, he's a horse that had kind of always hinted at having ability. And then the day they claimed him, he actually ran one of his best races ever. So, you're truly getting him on the way up. And I think he ran well. I also don't think he's a turf horse. So I think his last 2 efforts both just go to show you that he's in really, really good form right now. And this just looks like a golden opportunity for Paco to take him wire to wire. I don't know if when push comes to shove, he's probably as effective around 2 turns as he is 1. That's splitting hairs. I'm not overly worried about that. If you are, then the horses you're going to use as backups are the 3 and 6, and you're just going to go on with it because there's really not much contention beyond that.
Let's go on to the pay leg at Monmouth Park. Race number 5, maiden claiming 16,000, 160 miles on the turf. Nick, how are we getting paid in what I thought was, a nice concise ticket here in the Pick 5?
Yeah, I mean, this is the one where you can probably stretch the budget a little because the horse to beat is Perpetual Change. And the problem with Perpetual Change is that he drew the 11, he's 0 for 9. There's a lot to dislike. He and Urban Beach ran very similar races last time out. Perpetual Change maybe ran a little bit better because he was a little bit closer, and that was a race run at a pretty strong early pace. So I would upgrade him just a tad. Urban Beach goes out for Mike Deeney, who's been very unlucky at the meet, but is 0 for 34 coming in. So you're concerned a little bit, have to be about that barn just going so cold right now. Henry III is a horse I'm going to use. Pace compromised last time out. Didn't really offer much. That's my big worry. But this horse has synthetic races going back that make him competitive. I would include him for that reason alone. I could also see probably finding a way to use Lagerfeld, who was fourth in the race at Urban Beach and Perpetual Change Exit. And he probably ran better, or at least as well as both of them, given where he was early. That was a race run at a pretty strong early clip, and he's going to be forward. He has an inside post. They're drawn on the outside. So any combination of those four for me, if I can get alive to all four of them, I'd be thrilled.
I got the 8-3-12. Which horse am I missing here?
I don't think you're missing anybody. I would use the 11 is the other one that I would include, and I'd probably just use them all as A's because we're going to single famished, and I'm going to single the one in the first race. So, I mean, this is one where, you're going pretty thin along the way to end up having some possibilities in the last leg.
I think I'm going to. I had 2 of your 4. I guess I'll include the 8 and the 12 as well. Lagerfeld's my top pick. I am worried about the 0 for 9 and the wide post for our favorite there, but Lagerfeld to me has had some faster paces. Listen, a lot of tries at the level, but I think when you come to a race like this, it's kind of like the finale at Naira every single day. It's 26,000, maiden claimers going 1.25 miles on the grass. No one knows what's going to happen. I definitely want to use that one as my top pick, and then Perpetual Change is my second pick. Kelly Breen, we know how good this one is. Paco, I'm not going to, in a pay leg, I'm not leaving off connections that can win races. I'll also include the 8 and 12.
Totally agree. I think that's a great approach, and hopefully we get to that point.
I want to thank my special guest, Nick Tammaro, for coming on and closing out this podcast with me. Nick, thank you so much.
Anytime, my friend. Good luck, Spencer. Talk to you soon.
And that is all the time we have for today's In the Money Players podcast. I want to thank all my special guests, Matt Vagvolgyi with the Lone Star Late Pick 4, Drew Coatney with Woodbine's Late Pick 4, Nick Tammaro talking the early pick 5 at Monmouth, and Matt Bernier always fun to go over the Naira pick 6. And then Craig just cut this together just because I took a big pause there. Just doing a brain fart. Coming back 3, 2, 1. And my name is Spencer Luginbuhl. May you win all your photos.